Hello and welcome to the New Normal with Steve Benaquist. I'm the New Normal and this is the Steve Benaquist. Hey everybody, welcome back to the New Normal Lounge. Just kicking it with a little lukewarm hibiscus tea, or hibiscus tea, as it is officially known. And of course, the warm glow of the Himalayan sea salt lamp. I hope you're all well. Well, we've got a lot to discuss today. Ahead on the show, we've got Biden and the Democratic Party's $1.9 trillion relief bill finally coming up for a vote. And it's not looking good for that $15 an hour minimum wage hike. But more on that later. Nurses, they're quitting in large numbers. Too soon? I'd say so. More on that later.
Hey, Steve, wabba-dabba-doo.
Ladies and gentlemen, my executive producer, Lyle Gerber.
And Lady Gaga's in the news with the old dog walker.
I think it's a bit soon to be talking about that very shocking and upsetting incident. The poor man's in the hospital.
Well, he's going to be fine. He's on his way to a full recovery.
That may be. I'm glad he's doing all right, but we're not talking about it.
Geez.
All right. Also coming up, our new segments. We've got It Goes Without Saying and The Honesty Zone. And lastly, what's that new ish that just dropped? Donald Trump's taxes. All right, but before all that, let's start off the show as we try to do, as we are your happy and handy and useful guide, quick and hopefully funny guide to the new normal. What is our new normal right now here in episode 107, late February 2021? A little side note, it is nearly the end of the month, and this is Black History Month. Please, if you have some Black history you want to enjoy, to pour over, to study and get to know, do it soon because it won't be appropriate in all too short a time. Yes, the new normal, I would say, despite the sort of mixed poo-poo platter of teasers that I just presented to you, I think the new normal is pretty good. The elections, they go back and forth. The seesaw of Washington is ever going up and down. But with the expulsion of the Republican majority in the Senate and of Donald Trump in the White House, from the White House, a major weight has come off of the Republican side of that seesaw. And so, accordingly, the other side is just shot right up or down. It was practically vertical before. It was all out of whack. And so change is to be expected. But I still think it's going better than you might have expected. 4 years ago at this point, it was, with much bigger majorities to back them up. Most of what was done was judicial appointments and executive orders. And even with 2 years of all those majorities, what did they accomplish? They did not get much of their wall built. They did not ban many Muslims, and they did not repeal and replace Obamacare. So already, you got things are going pretty well in terms of what the Democrats are really pitching real legislation on immigration, minimum wage, voting rights. The only ideas that the GOP had were cut taxes on the rich. I'm sorry, the only idea. Oh, also repeal and get rid of everything that Obama ever put into action. All right, but moving on to our table of contents, moving on down it. The relief bill, the $1.9 trillion. Okay, the elephant in the room. Yeah, it's not looking good for fitting the $15 minimum wage boost into there. I live in a city where that's already what the minimum wage is. Los Angeles. It's very expensive here, though, to live. I understand the cost of living, cost of rent, cost of gas. Everything is cheaper in, say, Kansas, where $7.25, I believe, is that's the federal minimum wage. I think that's what Kansas has, for example. However, I did a little math. At $15 an hour, working 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week, that's full time, you're earning $30,000. Which means you're actually paying taxes on that, so you don't even get to keep all that $30,000. That doesn't go very far. To earn less than half of that, $14,800, how are you going to pay rent, pay for your car, the gas, repairs, make payments on the car, insurance on the car, and a lot of the places that pay minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, are places where you need a car. They are not big cities with urban transportation networks. And let alone food on your plate, healthcare, savings, retirement. It's not happening. So the good news is the pressure will be there for this to come as a separate bill, I think. I mean, polls show that people agree on that all over the place. So good news, if the rest of the $1.9 trillion bill passes, as it is expected to do, you'll get a $1,400 check. Anyone who makes less than 75 grand, which is everyone in that boat. And if you're in that boat, you don't own a boat. And I know what that's like. By the way, that $1,400 represents 1/10 of a minimum wage earner's annual earnings. That's more than a month's earnings, and that's sad. So call your congressperson, won't you? All right, next up, nurses are quitting under the stress and strain of, I mean, everything. It's watching people die. It's very tragic. It's a grind, but we have need for them. For 11 months, they've just been grinding it out. They're indefatigable, and now they're human, and they're proving they're all too fatigable, or defatigable. In any case, they're not indefatigable. And after a year like 2020, that was a fatigable year, a fatiguing. Who wouldn't be fatigued? Nurses, please take a little break, but come back. We understand how fatiguing it is. All right. Time for one of those new segments I mentioned. It's all fun and games, and you put a little title up. So here you go. It goes without saying.
It goes without saying.
And there are some things that, well, we all think of as just going without saying. And each time that I do the segment, I will be tackling one of those issues. So here we go. It goes without saying. And that was It Goes Without Saying.
It goes without saying.
Next up.
Wabba-dabba-doo, Steve.
No, Lyle.
Are we going to talk about that Lady Gaga thing?
I told you we're not going to talk about that.
No, you got to talk about Lady Gaga, Daga, Waka.
And what the hell are you saying?
It's important. Plus, they had the tagline, Gaga's dog's in hot water. You get it? Like a hot dog. I mean...
Lyle. You're fucked up.
Yeah,
sorry.
Whoa.
Hey, CNN producers who are looking for a good opinion host, I don't have to say that because Lyle won't be coming with me if you ever pick up this show.
So unprofessional.
But you are fucked up. Is this funny to you? Because she's a celebrity and animals are involved. This man is in critical condition. The dogs are living things that shouldn't be stolen or hurt, all right?
What you got a funny stage name? Gaga.
Well, we should look beyond that.
Come on.
Yeah, that's how we come to know of her. She's got her wild stage outfits and a stage name, but she's a real person, and so is the dog walker. Is maybe because it's a low status job that's laughable to you, or
Jeez, you're no fun. So should I just do the Wabba spot now?
No, no Wabba spot today. All right.
Oh, come on.
All right. Forget you heard that. Next up, a new segment, which I was already doing. I would call it my personal new normal. Like after saying what the new normal is for everyone generally, I would sometimes share what's going on with me. But I've decided to, if it's about something more uncomfortable, we'll call it the Honesty Zone. Oh, we don't have a theremin?
No, sorry.
And who is that? Oh.
That's my cousin.
All right, so welcome to the Honesty Zone. I've recently realized I have an addiction to distraction. And before any psychological professionals write in, I know that probably doesn't qualify as an addiction, but during this, I already was kind of like geared this way, but I think a lot of you would say that the loneliness, the isolation imposed on most of us by the pandemic, being alone a lot, it's driven me to have the radio always on. I wake up and I scroll through the news, I look through all my social media. Then when I make breakfast, I turn on the radio, the NPR. It's I need more music, is what it is. It's always talking. Um, but it's not just the loneliness. It's also obviously the pandemic itself. This terrible danger that we've been in there. It's unavoidable, and it's the state of the entire world. You can't even fantasize you were living in any place but New Zealand, maybe. And what kind of a fantasy is that? I ask you. Who would shoot an entire series of fantasy films? Anyway, I digress. Um, but you know, so on the one hand, you want to stay on top of it. You want to be in the know. You track the news. Is there a cure? Is there a vaccine to prevent it? Is there any change at all? And then you want to avoid thinking about it, but you can't just think about nothing. That's the classic Zen challenge: is don't think of an elephant. You know, it's already in your mind. You can't just silence your mind. It's a constant drumbeat that's under everything else. So much so that you might have thought at various times over the year that you had gotten it out of your mind, but it's not. You've just gotten used to it. And you know that because when you try to drown it out with sitcoms and movies and Tiger Kings and things, you are jarred by the sight of people spit talking too close to each other with no masks on. And it just seems unreal. Now, for the majority of Americans, on top of all that, the election and all the run up to it and the death throes of the 45th president's administration were another terrible situation, very similar. You didn't have a definite end in sight. It looked grim, it looked bad, and then, of course, it only got worse when you thought it was all over, like some horror movie. And that added to the pressure and the stress and the misery. And it's been tough for all of us, I would say. And I'd say that even though, compared to many people, I've had it good. I've had a job the whole time. I had a roof over my head. I'm not in a high risk health category. I've had love and companionship, and so many people had, were missing one of those things, or all of them in some cases. Anyway, I realized that my realization of my addiction to distraction was only really possible because, light appeared at the end of the tunnel, both in both situations, the pandemic and the election. And it's interesting to think of, not just other people who voted the way I did, but the other half of the country who, the light faded at the end of one of their tunnels. But in the pandemic realm, they deny the reality of the pandemic, do or did. And in a way, that was their coping mechanism. While I was, distracting myself constantly, they were injecting the drug of denial. And I suppose that put them in a better, happier frame of mind. But in the same way, like the hit of a drug would, you take your hit of smack and you feel great, but then when you come out of it, just because you deny the existence of COVID doesn't mean that your grandma didn't just die, or someone you knew, or that you're not out of a job, or other things. So, people in that boat are facing a different, parallel set of pressures. The pandemic, an election that was also causing them angst, and then the pain of having to reconcile what they were told and what they wanted to believe on the one hand, and then reality on the other. Reality being they lost the election, plus death, and many other dangers in their lives. So getting back to me in this honesty zone, which, that's the part that's honest. The upshot is, for my personal new normal, I feel good acknowledging that the distraction addiction is there. But what I do with that now is none of your business. Well, that was the honesty zone. Ooh, it's chilly in there. Speaking of death, moving down our table of contents, two things you can't deny are death and taxes. And Donald Trump is about to face, well, at least one of those, because a court in Manhattan just deemed that he's got to drop, and they actually have dropped already, those 2011 to 2019 taxes, which I call the birther years. We're going to find out just how broke and corrupt he is. And yes, we already knew he was both of those things, but it's kind of like a terrible smell coming from a dark alley. On the one hand, you could just walk away and not find out what it is, but at some point, someone has to go into that alley and clean it up. And in this case, Uncle Sam doesn't like his taxes messed with. Bitch better have my money, as I believe Big Daddy Kane said. Is that right? Someone correct me. Al Capone, for example. What do you know about him? A booze runner, violated many prohibition laws, killed people, rigged judges. But what do you go down for? Did you know? Taxes. Uncle Sam, don't play that. So that pretty much does it for this episode of The New Normal. It's been a long one, but hey, we are weekly now. Maybe I'll chop this into segments on TikTok or something, but in the meantime, you gotta watch the whole thing to get to it. Till next time, I'm Steve Benaquist, reminding you that if it ain't new, it ain't normal. Bye!